Well, Jonathan, a lot to catch up on this summer, but obviously first and foremost the news today that the club is transitioning towards a full-time model for the women's team. Just give us your first thoughts on that and obviously how exciting that is for Sheffield United Women moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time for everyone involved. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes from top to bottom to make this a reality, and obviously there's something that's been on the cards for a while with the club, and I think now everyone's happy that they finally got it over the line to give that extra investment to the women's game and for what the girls deserve really to help fulfil their dreams and their career aspirations. I mean, from my point of view, obviously I feel really humble that they've chosen myself to be the person to lead them into this new era, and I'm just hoping to continue doing what we did towards the end of last season and push on again this year.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously always means a lot of change going from part-time to full-time, whether that's the squad, the staff, things behind the scenes, the training scheduled obviously. How sort of busy has that been, you know, trying to implement that over the last few months, all while navigating your own wedding and honeymoon as well?
Yeah, I must admit the missus, she wasn't happy that I was working on the honeymoon while this was going on, but some things are just as important as the wedding, I suppose. No, it's been an interesting summer. It's been an interesting off-season. The one thing that was really clear that we wanted to try and make sure that we made this right for everybody who has been involved with the club, past and the present and the future. We wanted to make sure that the girls felt they had the opportunity to come on the journey with us into this new exciting era, but equally we have to be realistic in that with extra investment comes extra pressure. We needed to make sure that we strengthened in the right way and the correct way to make sure we brought in the right players to give us that competitive edge for next season. Obviously there are some casualties, and some through the fact that it just doesn't work, and others through the fact that might not be ready for this type of step up, but I think we handled ourselves obviously very well. I know that I spoke to all the players beforehand and gave them the full picture of what happened and how it looked for them, and I think a lot of them appreciated that because it was really clear and quite concise for them.
I mean, you touched upon it there, you know, the reality of the women's game still. Obviously a lot of our players being part-time, having those good careers outside of football means that there are a few that unfortunately won't be able to come on this journey with us, but it's obviously been quite an extensive recruitment process, and obviously naming no names just yet, but how happy are you with what you have been able to do and the makeup of the squad now heading into pre-season?
I'll tell you that next May. No, we are really pleased. I think, like I said, there was a lot of hard work behind the scenes from myself and Ian and Carl and Stephen just to make sure that we got all the players in that we wanted. Lots of compromises and lots of discussions to make sure it was a reality. I think that's the exciting thing about this new era, is that we're going to bring some real top players to Bramall Lane who've had experience in the full-time game, both in like leagues as high as the WSL as well, and we're making sure that we're going to show them some good football next season. I think the recruitment had to be extensive because, like you say, with the extra investment does come extra pressure, and not so much in results, but definitely competitiveness is important. And we want to make sure that the girls we bring in fit into the Sheffield United ethos and our philosophy and our way of playing, and that's why we've worked really hard behind the scenes to make sure that we find those girls, attract them, sell the club whilst they sell themselves to us as well, and looking forward to starting pre-season with them now.
I mean, you mentioned Bramall Lane, can't miss it, right behind you. Confirmed as well, obviously, that we'll be back here this season, which is another obviously huge show of commitment from the club. I mean, you would have seen even in the few games that you had here last season, the passion of the fans, the commitment, even in the tough times. There was well over 1,000 people coming out, wanting the autographs, the pictures after the games. I mean, how important is that in amongst everything else to be coming back here next season?
It's huge. Like, it's our identity, it's our home, it's our place of self-being, self-worth. This is what we want to come and play on. This is where we want to see our fans. Obviously, this helps us engage with fans more. It will attract more fans to come because they're seeing the women's playing in Bramall Lane. But more importantly for the girls, it's their home place, and now it's the second year. It shows that it's here to stay. It shows them that they are definitely here and they are definitely a part of the club. And the fact that they get to play in Bramall Lane again for another year will obviously only excite them. And it was a big factor in also recruiting as well. So really delighted the club made that decision, and I think everyone will be pleased with that, to be fair.
And another big announcement obviously regarding the academy set up this season, the new professional game academy system. We've obviously been awarded a Cat 1 academy. The under-21s will be playing in the Women's Super League Academy League against, you know, some of the top academies in the country. The ETC as well with the under-16s is still there. You spoke highly of obviously the under-21 setup last season and some of those girls that were training with the first team. that were involved obviously in the Jamaica friendly. How important is that for them and that pathway to the first team, that now you're going to have that, you know, full-time setup, and obviously your club captain Sophie Barker heading that up?
It's integral to our plans, it's integral to our DNA. Like Sheffield United have had so many youngsters that have come through the ranks all the way up to Lionesses. It's really clear to see that we have such a heavy investment in the youth side, in that we want to make sure that we continue that. So with this new system coming in, this new obviously professionalisation of the youth academy, it's only going to benefit us, and it's only going to benefit the players and the girls in and around the area. It's another way to show everyone out there the club's continued commitment to the women's game, and the club's vision for the women's game. And I think no one better than Sophie Barker could take over that role, because she is Mrs S Sheffield United, isn't she? So she's been here for different stints, but for a good period of time now, and she understands the club inside out, and everyone values and respects her. So having our captain, someone who's so heavily linked with the first team, also leading the next generation of youngsters for us, I think will only benefit us, because she'll be able to imprint both the ethos, the philosophies of the first team, the club, onto our youngsters, and that will only bode well for them in the future.
And final one, I mean, we're only obviously a few days out from pre-season as we sit here now. It's your first pre-season with the club, with a new look squad, this new era. You know, how different is it going to be? But what do you want to get out of this pre-season, and obviously heading into what will be another competitive championship season?
Most importantly, to continue where we left off last season. We finished the season very, very strong. We had a good number of results on the bounce. But I think also that it's time to obviously now sort of make sure we instill that professionalism, that we've now been given the backing of the club to go to that next level. And I think the players will need to obviously make sure they continue to work hard. The staff will need to continue to work hard to make sure that we do the club and the supporters proud. I think for me, I just want to make sure that when the girls start next week, they're prepared, they're ready to go. They understand how I want to play, because I've spoken to them all now individually outside of the season. And I think we just want to make sure we hit the ground running, which is the most important part, because as we know, this league is ruthless, and if you do get off to a slow start, that sort of causes that puts you out of contention very quickly. But we want to make sure that we just keep building and creating that positive environment with that as well.